Hello everyone, welcome to this video where we'll learn about patching using Python and Pytest. This video is part of a multi-series video where we cover different topics about testing with Python and Pytest. So without any further ado, let's jump into the code and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so we are here in our IDE. So if I browse the project, we have a Python package called services. So if I click on this, we've got a Python file called currency. So if we have a look at this, we have two classes, an exception class, and then an FX rate service class. So we've called this FX rate service, okay? And essentially what this does, it uses a third-party API to get some foreign exchange rates, both current and historical. And we've essentially wrapped it to make it easy to use, so we don't care about the response. So what we have here for the current method, we have a from FX and then a to FX. So what these are the exchange rates. So here we could have EUR and here we could have USD, basically saying we want to convert from euros to dollars currently. And then we could also have historical, and then we pass the same parameters as well as a date, okay? And then we hit the base URL here that we have for this API, and then convert, and then we pass the parameters. And then we extract the foreign exchange rate, we have some assertions, and then we get the actual result, okay? So what we want to do is we want to write some tests to make sure that this works, okay? But here you can see we're using the Python requests package, and essentially it makes a request to our API and then gets the FX rates. However, we don't want to call that API because we know the shape of the request as well as the response. So we want to build it based on those assumptions. So what we're going to do is we're going to patch this. So we could have mocked it, but to mock something, you need to be able to access it. But because it's embedded here within this method, you cannot actually mock it directly. So you have to do what is called patching. And I'll show you exactly how we're going to do that now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go in our tests, unit, and then we're going to go to new, and then we're going to say Python package, and then we're going to call this services because we're testing our services. Okay. And then we're going to go here and we're going to create another Python file. And because this is a test, we're going to start it with test underscore so it gets picked up by Pytest. So we're going to call this test and then let's say currency service. Okay. So this is a unit test. Okay. And here it's created a test class for us, but we're going to name it slightly different. So we're going to say test FX rate service, okay? And then here we're going to start our tests, okay? So to begin with, we want to test, let's grab this and bring it to the side so we can look at this. I'm going to close this. Okay, so let's test the current first, okay? So we want to make sure that given an FX rate and a to FX rate, and then we get a actual value based on some input, okay? So you'll see what I mean now. So here, let's just name this correctly. So let's say test current gets the value, okay? So what we're going to do here, okay, we want to delete that. Okay, I'm going to say pass for a second. So what we want to do here is we want to test this service. However, like we said, it makes a request here and we don't want to do that. So we need to patch this package here or this method. I am going to patch this. So how do we do this? So the way we do that is through a decorator that comes from Pytest, and it's called patch. Okay, so we're going to say patch, and then we're going to import this from unittest.mock.patch. Okay, so we're going to do this, and this is expecting a string, essentially a target. So what do we want to mock? So because we want to mock the requests get a library, the get function, okay, in the context of this package here, we need to see where this package is, okay? So if we go here, this package is under services currency, okay? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna say services dot currency, and then we're gonna say requests, and then we're gonna say get. And this will essentially mock it, and it will pass it here as a first parameter. So I'm going to call this mock get, okay? So what we want to do here is we want to assert a few things. So we want to basically prepare this, okay? So here we said we did some validations and we checked if the status code of the response was 200. And then we also got the success keyword from the JSON representation of the response. And so if that is true, okay? So if I go here to this website, you'll see of how the response is. So if we go here, the response is like this. So you've got success, and it's either true or false. And then you've got some other things. Some of them are different based on the actual endpoints, but in our case, we check that the success is true, okay? So in order to do that, we've basically have got to prepare this get method. We've got to tell it what to return because we're not actually going to call the endpoint. So the way we do that is we're going to say mock get, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to say when we call the mock get, okay, we want the return value, okay? The return value could be a mock or, well, essentially it is a mock. But we could do it directly like this. We could say mock, or we could do it and put each individual parameter, okay? Or attribute here directly. So I'm going to say that the return value and the status code is equal to 200. And then I'm going to say again mock get dot return value. And then I'm going to say dot JSON. So we've added the JSON attribute. And then I'm going to say dot. And then what happens after you go, you call JSON. I'm going to say the return value of JSON is what? Is something, okay? And that would be the response. So we're doing current. So essentially we're doing this thing here, convert. So if we go to the top, we go to the endpoints, we've got convert here. Okay, so let's have a look down here. Where is historical, live, and here we've got convert, okay? And here we've got the example API response. So we get the success, the terms, the privacy, the query, the info, and the result. You know what? I'm just gonna copy this just for simplicity's sake. And then I'm going to go here and we could add it here, but because we're going to reuse it, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to say setup. Let's just put the setup method, and then we can say self dot, and then what we're going to call this, let's just call it fx response is equal, we don't need that. Okay, so this one we're going to say is true. Okay, so if we format this a bit, great. Okay, so this is the query. It's not really relevant. What is relevant is here, the result. Okay, let's just put a number that is easy to remember. I don't know, let's just say 1.5. Okay, and here we're going to say self dot fx response. So we're saying if you call the get method of the request package, okay, the status code will be 200, and when you call the JSON method on the resulting result of that, and then its return value will be this here JSON, which we've represented as a Python dictionary. So now that we've done that, we want to instantiate our fx rate service. Okay, so we're going to say fx rate service, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say fx rate service. Okay, and then we're going to import that, and then it takes the access key. In this case, it doesn't really matter, so we're going to put anything here. I'm just going to say access key, and then we're going to make some assertions. So I'm going to assert that the fx rate service dot current, okay, and then we're going to add some from currency and then to fx rate. So let's just say euro here, and then here, say here USD. Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to assert the value, and we said that the result is this one here, so we expect it to be 1.5. okay, we also want to assert that this mock get method was called once. So I'm going to say mock get dot assert called once. Okay, and we're going to go to our terminal. Okay, and then we're going to say Pytest, and then we're going to say tests unit, and then here we have the services, and then we have the test currency service. So if we run this, it passes. It passes because we've mocked our request get method, but the rest of the stuff works. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to do the same thing with the historical. Okay, so I am going to go here and I'm going to say test historical gets value. Okay, and we need to decorate this as well, so we're going to say patch, and then we're going to say services dot currency dot requests dot get. Okay, and here we're going to expect the same thing, so we're going to say mock get, and here we're going to start our test. So we're going to do a similar thing. So we can use the same status code, the same response, the same service. This will be slightly different. You know what? I'm just going to copy everything here, and then we're going to adjust it. So here we have, so this would be historical, and then historical has one more. Okay, which is the date. So we need to specify a date. So I'm just going to say date is equal to, let's say 2024 first, and then just say 10th. Okay. And let's just pass the date here. And this should theoretically work like the previous one. So let's just run the test, and it does work. So what we want to do now is we want to test that our validation works. So for example, here we are checking if the status code is not 200, we throw an exception, okay? And the same with when the error is specified within the response. Okay, so we're going to go here and we're going to create a new method, and we're going to call test raises, and I'm going to say exception success false. Okay, so we're going to decorate this with the same thing as here. So I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to copy, apologies, I'm going to copy this here as well. So what are we testing here? So we're testing that the success keyword in the response is false. So I'm going to copy these two things here. Okay, we want a status code of 200 again. Okay, that is fine. However, here we're going to modify this a bit. Okay, so we're going to say fx, let's just say fx response is equal to the response on the top. We're just going to copy this because we don't want to mutate the other one. And then here we're going to say fx response, and then we're just going to change the success. Okay, so we're going to say success is equal to false. Okay, and then we're going to go, I don't know, we're just going to go here and we're going to say fx response, and then we're going to say error and then add some info. Okay, because if we go here to the API, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Do we have an error? Let's go to the error. There you go. So it would look something like this. So we would have an error keyword and then info. Okay, so that's what we want to simulate. So we're going to go here and we're going to say error, and then we're going to use a dictionary, and then we're going to say info, and then I don't know, some random error. Okay, so let's format this a bit. Okay, this looks good. So now we want to assign this to our return value. So we're going to say mock get dot return value dot JSON dot return dot return value, and then we're going to assign it to our fx response. Okay, that looks good. And then what we want to do now is we want to instantiate our fx rate service. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that from here because it's the same one. And then what we want to do now is we want to have a date as well. Let's just copy the date. And then we want to assert that there is an exception. Okay, we want to assert that it throws an exception. So we're going to say with, okay, Pytest. Okay, and then let's import Pytest. Okay, and then we're going to say raises, and then we're going to say fx rate service exception. Going to import that, and then here what we're going to do is we're going to call the fx rate service. So we're going to say fx rate service dot current, and then we're going to say USD, and then we're going to say euro here. This is not important. Okay. We can test this first. Let's just test this. So if we do, it passes. And then we want to test the other one as well. So we're going to say with Pytest dot raises, and then we're going to say FX rate exception, and then let's just copy this. Okay, we want the historical, and then here we want the debt. Okay, now that we have this, we can run the test again, and then it passes because it's still valid. Both methods will throw an exception. So what we could do here is we could run another test, okay, and check that it throws an exception when the status code is not 200, okay? So I'm going to duplicate this, then I'm going to paste it here, and then we're just going to change the name a bit. We're going to say test raises exception, and then let's just say status code not 200. Okay, so here we're going to say, I don't know, let's just say 400. So that is fine. What else do we need? Let's have a look. So we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need any of this, to be honest. Okay, and then we can get the FX response from here. All right, so what we want to do is we're gonna do the same thing. It's just gonna throw an exception again, but now because of a different reason, because of the status code. So if we run the test, we get 4 tests pass because we raised an exception again. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please like, comment and subscribe, as this helps the channel grow. I upload new videos frequently, so if you want to get notified, please subscribe and click the notification bell to get notified. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.